Hi, I'm Rick, and I like to make tiny trees. So in today's video, we've got a couple of repots really. It's a bit of a messy video. It's not really anything specific. I think there's like 5 different kind of cut-ins and stuff that I want to repot for various different reasons really. So we start off with some tiger bark ficus cut-ins. So this is from my bigger tiger bark. And there's actually 2 of these, there's another one afterwards, and the reason for repotting these is they're obviously rooted, and then I potted them into these kind of air pots with bonsai soil. And the idea was to try and grow them slow. Unfortunately, I've been growing a bit too slow. I had them outside during the summer, and then bring them in for the winter, obviously, and they just weren't really growing. They weren't really doing anything, so obviously this is probably down to the bonsai soil itself. So I bought some bricks of cocoa coir, and I've started to repot all of my cuttings into that mix to grow them on a bit more. You know, there's slow and then there's slow. Now obviously these do have really quite good root systems, really like fine root systems, because they've been grown in the soil, and it's kind of a testament to how bonsai soil can help roots, I suppose, like root growth, finer root growth. And obviously in a bonsai pot that'd be absolutely perfect, or if the trunk of this was the size that I wanted it to then refine it, that'd be fine, but I'm not in the refinement stage. So I think at the time the only thing I had to hand was the bonsai soil, so I thought, right, it was better potting it in something than nothing. And then like I went to the range, and they had, for some, obviously, so the range bought Wilkinson's, right, or Wilco, and at the back of the store they had like 4 or 5 like bricks of cocoa coir, and they were £1 each, so absolute bargain that was. So yeah, since then I've been potting nearly everything in that I wanted to grow on. I wouldn't say I want these to be massive trees, but I want them to thicken up quite a bit, so the cocoa coir should help out with that. And to be fair, they have been growing very well since being put into this mix. Within about a week I just started seeing new growth, and they started pushing everywhere, so it seems to have been what they needed. Now usually I would put perlite into this kind of mix. I find that with ficus, because they don't really have a problem being in water or being damp, as well as other species as well. So my tamarines that I've got, my Brazilian rain trees, Schefflera, they don't really mind being in, I say, damp soil, like soggy soil. They don't really mind it. Obviously they come from quite humid places, so they deal with it quite well. This wouldn't be the kind of mix of just lean cocoa coir that I'd use for any kind of jades or any kind of succulents. You know, they need a well draining soil. I've actually found that I've actually killed a few jades just by having bonsai soil that's on like the finer size, so like really fine akadama, because it really holds that water so much. But yeah, usually you would put perlite into this mix just to help aerate a little bit and drainage. Now my other issue as well is that where I have all my indoor trees, it is by a radiator. Not on top of it, but it's close to it, so obviously in the winter when the heating comes on, that can dry the pots out very quickly, so it's a better idea for me to have a kind of wetter mix, a soil that holds a lot of water. Yeah, and to the second one here. So the good thing with cuttings is you usually get a good root spread, like root base. There's no like tap root, generally speaking, especially when it comes to ficus. So you can start off the root structure a lot better on a cutting than you can grown from seed. I generally think with species like ficus, you're better off just growing from cutting anyway, because you can grow them from rather large cuttings. Obviously these are quite skinny, and these have actually had a year of growth as well. They weren't big cuttings when I took them, and they were kind of that just randomly cutting off branches on my bigger tree, and then just thought I'll plot them up and see how they get on, and here we are. My general idea to kind of save money, and the whole Yasui thing of being cheap or affordable, is that usually when I buy a tree, I'll try and take cuttings from it and then sell them on, and then obviously the money that I make from selling it kind of covers the tree costs, and then you essentially have a tree for free after a little while. I think the big ficus cost me £25. I got it from an actual garden centre. And don't get me wrong, these cuttings are worth about £3 or £4 right now, but maybe in a couple of years they'll be worth something. Sell them for £10 each or something, and then you make your money back, and that's kind of the way that I try and play it. Obviously I am down money, I don't make money off of this, Bonsai isn't really a money making scheme, let's put it that way, but you can make your money back sometimes. Moving on then, this is my cat's claw. So this is a mimosa cat's claw, which is just a really small kind of variation of it. And I bought this from, can't remember where I actually bought it from. It was Grow Tropicals, maybe. It was a certain tropical store where they sell quite like rare and, or was it, no, Jurassic plants, that's what it was. Jurassic plants, yeah. So they sell quite rare, usually like seedlings or seeds themselves. But yeah, I came across this and I thought, it looked pretty cool. And it's a cool tree, very thorny, horrible to work with. So this dropped its leaves, I'm going to say about a month ago now. And a couple of times I've actually tested to see if there's obviously green under the bark, and there is. But it just seems to not push on. So the reason for this actual repot was that the soil that it would come in, I believe, is like a kind of loamy kind of soil, and I don't know if it's too much waterlog. And also the roots were kind of circling around the pot, so I'm hoping that I can save this by repotting into some better soil and trimming back some of the roots and allowing it some space to grow. It grew quite well last year, but then, yeah, as I say, it just dropped all its leaves and it hasn't done anything since. And I'm just hoping it does push again, because this one was quite an expensive plant for how small it is. Obviously, you can see it's like a twig in a pot, but I think I paid like £15, maybe £18 with delivery. So yeah, really hoping this one makes it. There was a point where it was climbing up my window, so I had it on the window. I had it indoors the whole summer, right? I didn't want to put it outdoors just in case. Yeah, so it was climbing the whole way out the window, and obviously I had to cut it back at some point. And since that cut back, it just hasn't been the same, so we will see. But as you can see, the root ball's pretty good. A lot of roots coming from it. And I'm just going to take this back as far as I see fit. And then obviously put it up in some new cocoa coir. So one thing I've been struggling with since bringing everything back in for the winter is space. I haven't got a lot of space, so I need to. I'm literally at the point now where I can't buy any more outdoor trees as well, or indoor, until I can either get rid of some, and I've given a few cuttings to some friends. Yeah, until I can get rid of some, or change some of the plantings as well. I've got about 10 to 12 maybe jade cuttings in their own separate pots. I mean, I could make a little forest out of them. I tried a jade forest before, variegated one, but it didn't really go too well. There was a video on that of me making that forest, and I don't actually think I made another video of it when it started dying off, but it wasn't the greatest, and it still takes up space, right? I mean, you can put 12 trees into one pot, and although it saves the space of all the space between the pots, it's still a rather large pot. And everything else is growing as well, so my Adenium's growing, my ficus is getting bigger, well, both of the ficuses. Schefflera is growing. I've got a quart bark port which I'm growing on, and that is getting very large. See, everything's taking up a bit more space than it used to, and it's getting quite hard to manage. Now I have debated like a kind of bookshelf type thing. I've got a bit more space in the room, so I currently have everything by the window, just obviously so it can get as much natural light as possible, but I might have to take up another corner and just use grow lights. Now certain species don't grow too badly in grow lights, ficus being one. They get a little bit leggy, but it's not too bad. Schefflera grow quite well. Obviously stuff like the rain trees, they're going to need to be as close to natural light as possible. Some of the ports as well, you know. Variegated ones I find don't need as much light, so you can kind of grow them in a bit of a darker place, but others need a lot of light. My Adeniums need a lot of light. So yeah, it's just trying to manage the space that I've got really until I can get a bigger place myself and really branch out, if you get the pun. Now, I've actually got a few indoor species or trees that have never been seen before on the channel, so I'm going to try and get a video up of them soon, just so I can start recording their progress, and obviously you guys can see as well. Don't really know what else I've got going on. I mean, I've got a few outdoor trees. At the minute, the weather's kind of taking a turn. It's got really quite cold out there, so I don't really want to do any work on the trees going into colder weather, but I know it warms up again. So maybe there's a few. I've got a few like evergreen trees, so some of my junipers need some work. I've done all the work on the pines really for now. But yeah, there will be some videos coming up over winter, but obviously I don't want to put any of my trees at risk just to make videos, essentially. So moving on, then this is one of my oldest rain trees actually. This is one of the batch of the seeds that I grew from last year. Done a video on how to grow Brazilian rain tree from seed. And this is the one of the ones that I kept because it was growing the best and the thickest kind of thing. I gave two of the others away, and then my friend Michelle gave me another two cuttings, so a couple of them died off. But yeah, so this one, it was hard, right, because it was in this pot, and obviously where it's only a new seed, and I thought I don't want to touch it just yet, but I knew it wasn't going to grow well in this bonsai soil mix, so I knew I needed to repot it. Now with this, it hasn't grown in about 4 weeks, I'd say, and I don't know if that's a light thing, but it hadn't grown from this in about 4 weeks, so I thought, well look, we give it a repot, we put in some soil. Rain trees like humidity and dampness kind of thing, so put it into some more water retaining soil and see how it gets on. Obviously again, the bonsai soil kind of slows down the growing process, and these I want to grow on as much as possible. So here we are. This one hasn't actually bounced back since its repot. It was quite an aggressive repot. Now everything's still green, and it has got one leaf shoot that I left on it that is still opening on the daily, but not much growth going on right now, but I guess it's just rebuilding strength. That's all for today, and I hope to see you in the next one.